The silver frame on my desk had collected a thin layer of dust, but I never wiped it off. I wanted it that way, dulled, lifeless, stripped of the shine it once had, just like the woman in the picture. Katie's smile used to mean something. It used to calm me after 12-hour shifts on construction sites, hands cracked and raw from concrete and cold steel. Now it stared back like a mockery. That photograph, taken on our wedding day 15 years ago, froze a lie in time. Auburn curls catching the sun, white dress fluttering against the cliffs of Torrey Pines. She looked like everything a man could want, and she was, for a while. But lately, I saw her reflection more in mirrors than in person. She stopped coming to job site openings, started dressing like she had something to prove to someone else. Her perfume changed. Her smile changed. She'd get calls and step outside, claiming vendor issues. That was the first red flag. Then the lock screen on her phone became one I couldn't crack. Second red flag. I built a $120 million construction firm from scratch. Don't tell me I can't read signs. Still, I didn't move too fast. Men like me don't run on emotion. We run on planning, structure, angles. It's what kept me ahead of bankruptcies and city inspectors and the bastards who never paid on time. And now, I'd use the same tools to deal with the woman sleeping next to me. It wasn't until Mitch came to my office after hours that suspicion turned into certainty. He closed the door behind him, jaw tight, eyes flicking to the frame on my desk. "You still got that thing out?" I leaned back in the leather chair, staring straight at him. "Say it." He didn't sit. He never did when something was eating him alive. "I saw her, Dave, at the Red Ridge Hotel, with Robert Walsh." I didn't blink. I didn't move. But the sound of his name, Robert Walsh, landed like a hammer to the temple. Robert was a slime-coated handshake in a press suit. Ran one of the biggest real estate firms in Southern California. And once upon a time, I shook that bastard's hand across a table at the governor's housing commission. Katie had always said he was a necessary evil in the business. I guess she meant in more ways than one. "How sure are you?" I asked, voice flat as poured concrete. Sure enough, I couldn't sleep last night. He reached into his jacket and slid over a manila folder. And I didn't want to believe it either, man. But I made a call. To Rebecca Torres, former homicide detective. Now a licensed private investigator who had a reputation for making cheaters wish they'd stayed celibate. I flipped open the folder. Inside were timestamps, photos, one with Katie's hand on Robert's chest, laughing like she did when she used to sit on my lap in the back of our first truck. Another of them walked into the same hotel suite. Repeatedly. Tuesday nights, Thursday lunches, Saturday mornings. Their business meetings. I closed the folder slowly, looked up at Mitch. "I need you to help me set something up. Are you thinking divorce?" I shook my head once. "I'm thinking about demolition." There was no emotion in my voice. That was the point. Men like me don't scream or cry or throw things. We remove rot with a scalpel, not a bat. I picked up the photo frame, held it in both hands, stared at it like I was saying goodbye to someone already dead. Then I opened the drawer beneath the desk, placed it inside, and slid it shut with finality. This was no longer about a woman who couldn't keep her legs closed. This was about legacy, respect, and everything I built. "She's not walking away with half," I said. "She's walking away with nothing." Mitch exhaled. "What do you need?" "I need Rebecca's full package. Surveillance, audio, texts, everything. And I want her to dig into Walsh. If they've crossed business lines, I'm burning both of them to the ground." Mitch nodded, jaw set. "You're serious?" I stood. "Damn right I'm serious." By the time Mitch left that night, I had called Rebecca directly. Her voice was sharp, focused, and professional. She didn't ask about my feelings. She asked for access, bank accounts, schedules, emails, construction site badges. She wanted to know who Katie talked to in my world and what Walsh might be using from hers. "I don't just catch cheaters," she said. "I take down networks." Good, because this wasn't a marriage anymore. It was a battlefield, and I'd already poured the foundation for war. I met Rebecca Torres at a corner table in a bar that didn't take reservations and didn't tolerate phones. A good sign. She sipped black coffee in a sea of whiskey glasses and shook my hand like she'd already made up her mind about me. "Mr. Miller," she said, scanning me like blueprints on a wall. "You build things. I break them. Let's begin." I liked her immediately. She slid a thick folder across the table, then added a thumb drive on top. "I've confirmed the affair. Photos, audio, even footage of your wife and Walsh meeting at least 9 different properties, several of them yours. The last 6 months alone show commission funneling, NDA breaches, and possible use of your proprietary designs." I opened the folder. The first page was a spreadsheet. Property names, design drafts, my firm's drafts, alongside sale records marked with Walsh's firm's logo and Katie's signature as consulting coordinator. "You're telling me they stole from me?" Rebecca nodded. "Stole, sold, pocketed, then laid in hotel sheets laughing about how dumb you were." I didn't flinch. My jaw didn't clench. I just studied the sheet like I would any construction plan. Look for the fault lines. Reinforce the structure. Remove the weak beams. "Can you prove this in court?" I asked. "I don't bring gossip," she said. "I bring damage." I leaned back, staring at the ceiling fan spinning slowly above us. Katie hadn't just cheated on me. She'd been siphoning value from the company I built with calloused hands and 4 a.m. site checks. She used my blueprints, my vendors, my reputation, and sold them to the man she was screwing. No more photos. No more questions. Just war. "Do they know they're being watched?" Rebecca smiled. "They think they're the clever ones. He even jokes about you in bed. Says you're the construction caveman." Her words. He wouldn't understand the vision. The laugh that came out of me wasn't really a laugh. It was a low, hollow sound from the gut of a man who'd given everything and still came up betrayed. "So here's what I want," I said. "I want them exposed. Not just as cheaters, but as thieves, liars, and frauds. I want their names blacklisted in every boardroom between here and LA." Rebecca raised a brow. "You thinking scorched earth?" "No," I said. "I'm thinking about concrete collapse. Quiet, controlled. And when it falls, no one comes out clean." She opened her notebook. "Then we'll need allies. Legal, corporate, and digital." I looked her straight in the eye. "Who do you have in mind?" "Robert Walsh's wife, for one. Sandra. She's not just some trophy spouse. She's a lawyer. She's already suspicious. If you let me contact her with the evidence, we'll have a legal ally inside their home." "And the others?" "Jessica Henderson runs Henderson Realty Group. Major player. Been burned by Walsh before. She'd love to watch him bleed. And I've got a brother, Michael, a cybersecurity analyst for the city. You'll want him when things get dirty online." I sat still, absorbing it all. Then I nodded slowly. "Start assembling. But I want Katie to think she's winning. Let her believe I'm too busy with contracts and site deadlines to notice her perfume changes or her late-night messages. Let her feel safe." Rebecca grinned. "So she doesn't notice the foundations cracking beneath her feet." "Exactly." That night, I went home like nothing was wrong. Kissed her on the cheek. Asked how her day went. Let her lie to my face while I memorized the way she smirked when she thought she was clever. I noticed how quickly she hid her phone. How she mentioned Robert's name casually like he was just another industry name. Not the man she'd shared a hotel suite with 2 nights ago. It was fine. Let her laugh now. Let him feel untouchable. Let them both think the game was theirs. Because I wasn't looking for closure. I was building a reckoning. For 6 weeks, I played the part of the oblivious husband. I brought home flowers, took Katie to brunch, asked about her meetings, pretended to care when she vented about budget misalignments or vendor communication issues. I even listened when she rambled about design fatigue and Robert just understanding her creative instincts. Every word she said, I stored away like a receipt. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, the concrete was drying on something she couldn't see. Rebecca kept the surveillance steady, text intercepts, audio bugs, video recordings. She caught Katie and Walsh discussing which clients to poach next, how to siphon more revenue from my firm without triggering legal review, and what Katie would do with her half once the divorce came through. Her words. I'll play nice for a while, Katie had said, lying naked beside him in a La Jolla suite. Then I'll pull the plug. David won't fight. He's too proud to get messy. Too proud? No, too patient. Mitch, meanwhile, worked overtime feeding me internal files. The accountant flagged suspicious double payments in marketing invoices. Walsh was laundering money through Katie's side business under false consulting fees. Every number was evidence. But the final piece fell into place the moment Rebecca called and said, "Sandra's in." I met Sandra Walsh at a private home office in Mission Hills. She poured whiskey without asking, handed me a USB drive and said, "You'll want to see this." The footage was raw. Sandra had installed hidden cameras in Robert's condo months ago when she suspected he was skimming bonuses. Turns out he was skimming something else too. My wife. She handed me her terms. I want Robert disbarred, disgraced, and financially eviscerated. And I want Katie off the market so no other idiot ends up where you and I did. I respected her fire. "You get me the legal tools," I told her, "and I'll stage the collapse." Rebecca brought in her brother, Michael, a lean, quiet guy who looked like he'd rather be coding than talking. But he was surgical. He ran sweeps on all of Katie's devices, cloned her backup drives, and gave me access to their entire shared Dropbox. Photos, documents, text logs. That's where I found something that made me pause. A file labeled Miller Exit Strategy. It outlined Katie's plan to initiate divorce once her separate consulting firm reached a certain valuation, funded by stolen Miller construction resources. She wanted to split before tax season, freeze shared accounts, and move her assets under a shell corporation tied to Walsh. She didn't just betray me. She planned to erase me. That was the moment my anger crystallized. Not wild, not loud, but focused like a cutting torch aimed at a gas line. I booked a dinner reservation for Saturday night, La Maison Rouge, the kind of place that took 2 weeks' notice and offered wine pairings with every course. I told Katie it would be a celebration. Just us. Meanwhile, Sandra filed preliminary motions, backed by evidence from Rebecca. Legal triggers were set to release if Katie or Robert tried to transfer funds, liquidate assets, or move out of state. Jessica Henderson, industry queen and Walsh's longtime nemesis, agreed to sit on the evidence for a future press release. Her exact words, "Tell me when to light the match." Amanda Pierce, an up-and-coming architect Katie had dismissed in the past, agreed to meet with me about merging design services. Amanda didn't want revenge. She wanted to build something better, and she didn't care for backstabbers. One by one, the pieces fell into place. Let them laugh now. Let them order champagne. Because when Katie walked into that dinner reservation, she'd be walking into an ambush. Saturday arrived with coastal fog and quiet anticipation. Katie walked into the room in heels she hadn't worn since our anniversary. Red lips, silk dress. She was glowing for the wrong reason. She thought she'd won. I opened the car door, smiled, drove her downtown. But I didn't pull into La Maison Rouge. I pulled into the driveway of our home. She blinked. "What's going on?" "I need you to see something first." We stepped into the foyer. Upstairs, 2 suitcases sat neatly packed by the closet. Her name was on the tags. "What?" I gestured to the living room where a file folder rested on the coffee table. I walked over, opened it, and stepped aside. Photos, emails, contracts, audio transcriptions, bank records, everything. "Robert isn't just your lover," I said calmly. "He's your co-conspirator and your business partner in felony commission theft, copyright infringement, and corporate espionage." Katie's breath caught. She stared at the file like it would catch fire. I continued. "Sandra is waiting at La Maison, with divorce papers, legal filings, and evidence prepped for industry release. You'll walk into that dinner and be served, publicly." "You're bluffing," she said, voice trembling. I stepped closer, voice cold. "No, Katie, I'm building. And this is the demolition." Katie didn't say a word on the drive downtown. She kept glancing back at the house, the packed bags, the folder left open on the coffee table like a tombstone for the life she thought she controlled. Her hands trembled in her lap. She clutched her phone like it held the answer, but she didn't dare open it. She knew I'd already been inside it. She just didn't know how far the infection had spread. I pulled up to La Maison Rouge, valet waiting. She didn't move at first. "I suggest you go in," I said quietly. "Sandra's expecting you, and she brought everything." "What are you trying to do?" Her voice cracked. "Humiliate me?" I looked straight ahead. "No, Katie, you did that to yourself. I'm just giving the audience a better seat." She stepped out without another word. I watched her walk into the lion's mouth in red heels and betrayal. Then I put the truck in gear and drove away. I didn't need to see what happened inside. I had orchestrated it down to the table number. Back home, I poured a glass of bourbon and stood at the window. My phone buzzed once. It was Sandra. "It's done," she signed. Tears, excuses, threats, the usual. But she signed. I didn't reply. I didn't need to. Katie walked into that restaurant expecting applause for her performance. Instead, she found a courtroom in candlelight. Sandra laid out the full portfolio: the stolen commission trails, the NDA violations, the falsified invoices, all backed by notarized documents and notarized statements from internal whistleblowers Rebecca had unearthed. Katie tried to talk. Sandra shut her down like a judge. "You're not the victim here," she told her. "You're the virus. And tonight you're being quarantined." Walsh, for his part, never showed. Word was he got tipped off that Sandra had filed for divorce and legal injunctions. His lawyer warned him. His lawyer also happened to be one of Sandra's former classmates. Small world. He ran like the coward he was, left Katie to face the music alone. And music it was. When Katie came back to the house later that night, she found the locks changed. I had the security code reset, the key fob revoked, and the gate flagged to alert me if she ever tried to punch it again. She stood outside for 15 minutes. I watched her on the camera feed from my office. She cried, slammed the door, screamed my name like it still carried weight in her mouth. Then she left, just like that, gone. The next day, Rebecca sent the files to Jessica Henderson. Within 48 hours, news spread like a fire in a lumber yard. Real estate scandal rocks Southern California. Walsh and Miller firms accused of commission fraud, ethics violations. Katie's firm lost 3 major clients overnight. One of them, Garnet Holdings, issued a statement calling her professionally radioactive. Her design license was flagged for review. Vendors pulled contracts. Her name was blacklisted on internal memos before lunchtime. As for Walsh, the state board put his firm under investigation for ethical misconduct and breach of fiduciary duty. Sandra's divorce filing hit public record with full exhibits attached. Katie's face was no longer on the covers of design magazines. It was plastered in legal forums and real estate watchdog blogs. I didn't celebrate. I didn't throw a party or send champagne to my allies. I simply went back to work. Because revenge isn't fireworks. It's demolition. Quiet, structural, complete. The Monday after Katie's fall, I walked into the office early, 5:42 a.m., like I used to in the early days before all the titles and recognition. The building still smelled like fresh paint and sawdust, the way it did when I opened my first site trailer 17 years ago. This time, it smelled like a beginning. Amanda Pierce arrived 10 minutes later. She didn't knock, just walked in, blueprints tucked under one arm and a tablet under the other. Brown hair tied back, black blazer sharp enough to draw blood. She didn't come to flirt. She came to build. "I've reviewed the Red River proposal," she said, spreading the papers across my desk. "Your team's logistics are tight. My vision is to sell it." I studied her work: bold glass facades, vertical gardens, elevated rooftops with stormwater reclamation. Efficient, modern, not flashy for the sake of being seen, but smart enough to dominate headlines. "I want this project to scream innovation," she said, "but with this kind of spine only you can pour into it." She wasn't wrong. I was the foundation guy, the structure. She was at the elevation, the finish. Together, we'd be a skyline. By Friday, we had an LLC filing, Miller and Pierce Developments. By the end of the quarter, We had 2 major clients signed, 1 international bid pending, and a pipeline of high-efficiency housing units already rendering in Amanda's suite. I didn't build this out of spite. I built it out of clarity. Katie had always wanted to make a name in real estate design, but she sold integrity for shortcuts. Amanda, she played the long game. She knew clients wanted results, not drama. Her work earned respect without her having to demand it. And unlike Katie, Amanda didn't ask me to shrink to fit her glow. She stepped beside me, matched my stride. Miller and Pierce made headlines of its own. New powerhouse in urban construction. Miller and Pierce debuts with sustainable vision and veteran backbone. People assumed the partnership was romantic. At first, it wasn't, but fire tends to find its match. Katie's agency folded within 2 months. The clients who didn't flee on day 1 were chased off by lawsuits, vendor breaches, and regulatory flags. She tried pivoting, freelance design work, a blog about resilience in business. Nobody bought it, because she'd built her name on mine, and now that name was off the building, off the accounts, off her resume. She made a few calls. I didn't answer. Amanda and I stood on the balcony of our newest high-rise one morning, 16 stories above ground, city haze rising with the sun. "Have you ever thought about revenge?" she asked, arms folded, eyes scanning the skyline. "I used to," I said. "Now I think about concrete strength ratings." She smiled. "I like that." We signed the lease on our new downtown headquarters 2 days later. Location: the same building where Katie once had her firm. I bought it at auction. Dirt cheap. I didn't gloat. I just hung the new sign. Miller and Pierce, structure. Vision. Legacy. Desperate people don't go quietly. They scratch, claw, and chew through the walls on their way down. Robert Walsh proved that. 2 months after Katie's collapse and the launch of Miller and Pierce, Walsh made his first move. A whisper campaign. Anonymous messages flooded subcontractors' inboxes. Accusations of workplace safety violations, fake OSHA complaints, warnings about my volatile temperament. One message said I'd fired a man for sneezing on site. Another claimed I was under federal investigation for tax fraud. Sloppy, childish, but dangerous if left unchecked. That's when I called Michael Torres. Rebecca's younger brother didn't work in suits or talk much in meetings. He liked his screens cold and his coffee black. When he logged into my system from a secure rig in his apartment, his face barely moved as the chaos unfolded in front of him. "These attacks came from a dummy domain hosted out of Argentina," he said. "Used VPN layering, but the embedded data packets show traces of Walsh's office server. He's sloppy. Real estate guys don't understand digital fingerprints." I nodded once. "Wipe it clean, then hit back." Michael grinned. "Oh, we're not just hitting back. We're setting a digital bear trap." While Michael traced the leaks, Amanda started pressing our PR partners to seed the truth. Quietly but publicly. "The irony," she said in one meeting, "is that Robert's trying to start a fire with wet matches while we're sitting on the water supply." Jessica Henderson leaked selective information to trusted contacts. Pending charges, licensing board reviews, and a story in development about Robert's falsified appraisals on a public housing project. A reporter got curious. A whistleblower reached out. Soon, Walsh was no longer the hunter. He was the animal in a broken cage. Then came the bribes. We got word that Walsh tried paying off a city inspector to stall Miller and Pierce's certification on a waterfront development. $10,000 in a paper bag. Classic amateur move. Unfortunately for him, the inspector was old school and 2 steps ahead. He took the money, reported it to the DA, and handed over voicemail recordings. Sandra filed 3 separate motions within 48 hours. Legal fraud, obstruction of business, and breach of ethics. By week's end, Robert's real estate license was officially under suspension pending review. But Katie? She made her move too. I came home one evening to find a courier envelope shoved into the gate. Inside, a handwritten letter. "David, I've had time to reflect. I miss what we were. I was confused. I was under pressure. Robert twisted everything. You were always the strong one. Maybe we can talk. Please, let me explain. Katie. I read it once, then folded it. No fire, no rage, just the cold knowledge that she was drowning and reaching for a life raft she no longer deserved. I didn't respond. Instead, I had Rebecca run a background check. Katie had been trying to pitch design consulting services under a new name, KT Creative, trying to bypass her damaged reputation. She even contacted one of our smaller vendors, pretending not to know who owned Miller and Pierce. Rebecca flagged it. Amanda cut ties with the vendor. Michael blacklisted the fake site's IP across all our back-end systems. Done. We didn't speak her name after that. That week, Amanda and I stood in front of a half-built project in Del Mar, a sustainable housing complex we'd branded The Rise. It's funny, she said, how rats don't realize they're in a maze until they hit every wall. I just grunted. They thought I'd play defense. You didn't. No, I said. I built a wall behind them, then lit the floor on fire. The hearing took place in a conference room on the 19th floor of the Regional Real Estate Ethics Board downtown. Floor-to-ceiling windows framed the skyline. Steel, glass, ambition, and in the middle of it all sat a long table of judgment. Katie and Robert looked like ghosts of their former selves. He wore a navy suit that sagged at the shoulders. She wore black, makeup barely hiding the weight she'd lost. They sat on the same side of the table, but there was distance between them now. Betrayal has a way of spreading once the stakes get real. I didn't sit. I stood at the far end, arms crossed behind my back, silent as stone. Amanda was to my left, Sandra to my right. Rebecca handled the evidence. Jessica sat near the press rep, quiet, watchful, influential. The board chair, a gray-haired woman with military posture, cleared her throat. We're here to determine the professional conduct status of Robert Walsh and Catherine Miller as related to alleged ethics violations, commission fraud, and code breaches involving multiple firms. Rebecca stepped forward with the precision of a prosecution veteran. We have surveillance footage, financial audits, whistleblower testimony, and emails directly linking these two individuals to intentional property misrepresentation, non-disclosed dual commissions, and asset siphoning. She dropped a thick binder on the table. The sound echoed. Katie flinched. Robert tried to interrupt. This is a coordinated attack. Mr. Walsh, the chairwoman cut in. You'll speak when asked. He shut his mouth. For the first time in his slick career, no smile came to his lips. Rebecca continued page by page, exposing years of misconduct. Properties sold with kickbacks. Blueprints misused and repurposed under falsified project names. Payments split under shell corporations, including Katie's design firm. And the final blow? A signed document, Walsh's own typed contract, offering Katie a percentage of profits from Miller construction projects stolen through inside access. He tried to deny it, but the digital trail was clean, time-stamped, and forensically confirmed by Michael. The room fell silent. Katie's hands shook. She whispered, "This wasn't all my idea." Sandra leaned forward, voice cold as tile. "But you signed. You lied. You profited." The board chair looked at both of them. I've sat in this seat for 15 years. I've seen greed, arrogance, and carelessness, but rarely this level of calculated betrayal. Your licenses are hereby suspended, effective immediately, pending permanent revocation after the review period. No emotion, just a gavel strike. Final. Robert stood abruptly, knocking his chair back. This is bulls. Security was already at the door. He stormed out, chest heaving, muttering curses. Katie remained seated, eyes locked on the floor. No fire, no defense, no words. She looked up at me once, maybe expecting pity. She got silence. I turned and walked out. Outside the building, reporters swarmed. Jessica gave a brief statement. Miller and Pierce has zero involvement in this misconduct. In fact, they were the victims of it. Their integrity through this process sets the new bar for ethical development in our region. I didn't speak to the cameras. My work spoke for me. That afternoon, I received confirmation. Walsh fled to Phoenix. Katie's assets were frozen. Their names were flagged on every major hiring board and professional circle. The empire they tried to carve from mine had crumbled into dust beneath their feet. The sign went up on Thursday. Miller and Pierce Headquarters, 213 Stoneview Boulevard, once the pride of Katie's design firm. Now it was ours. I bought the building at a liquidation auction after Katie's assets were seized and her firm folded. She tried to keep it, fought for it in mediation, even filed a motion to delay the sale. The judge reviewed the evidence and dismissed her request in under 3 minutes. She built that office with stolen scaffolding. I took it back brick by brick. We gutted the interior. Amanda redesigned it from the floor up. Glass corridors, steel-framed beams, modern exposed piping, no drywall, no facades. Nothing hidden, just structure and clarity. That was our philosophy now. Katie tried reaching out 3 more times. A letter delivered through her old college friend. A voicemail from an unknown number that Rebecca flagged before it even hit my phone. Then a message through her cousin, who begged me to at least hear her side. But I already had. Her side was in hotel registries, wire transfers, text logs, court transcripts, and board hearings. Her side was a knife in the back of the man who built the ground she walked on. I didn't respond. Not out of cruelty, but out of principle. Some things don't get answered. Some doors, once shut, stay welded. The company grew faster than we'd planned. 3 new projects on the East Coast. A housing initiative in Austin. Bids coming in from Dubai, Tokyo, and Frankfurt. Amanda took the lead on global vision. I stayed grounded in structural operations. Michael ran cybersecurity. Sandra handled contracts and compliance. Jessica brought investors with deep pockets and deeper loyalty. Miller and Pierce wasn't just a name anymore. It was a force. Sometimes, I'd walk the halls of that building and pause outside the office where Katie once had her desk. I didn't convert the space. I left it stripped, bare walls, clean floor, quiet. Not as a shrine, but as a warning. A place where shortcuts led to collapse. I no longer needed revenge. That part of the story was over. What I needed now was resilience. Systems that couldn't be broken from the inside. Partnerships that didn't rot under pressure. Foundations that fire couldn't touch. And that's what we were building every day. One night, Amanda found me out on the rooftop deck, whiskey in hand, staring over the city lights. "Still thinking about her?" she asked, not unkindly. "No," I said. "Just the silence." "What about it?" "It's earned." She nodded. Didn't say more. Just stood beside me. Amanda didn't fill the space with noise. She let the wind speak. Let the moment breathe. Eventually, she said, "You ever wonder if you'd have built all this if Katie hadn't betrayed you?" "No," I said. "Because she didn't break me. She clarified for me." 5 years passed. Miller and Pierce became more than a company. It became a brand synonymous with power, precision, and permanence. Our towers stood in 8 cities. Our name topped contracts with governments, universities, and international developers. We didn't compete for space anymore, we defined it. Amanda was no longer just my partner. She was my wife. We married without photographers, without press. Just the 2 of us in a stone church in Montana. Vows exchanged beneath timber beams and winter silence. She wore black. I wore steel gray. We didn't promise forever, we built it. Sandra runs legal operations now, feared by every opposing counsel who dares draft a weak clause. Michael leads our cybersecurity division with a team of analysts so good they predict attacks before they happen. Jessica sits on our board, an investor and ally who never forgot how this all began and how far we've come. We've been offered buyouts. We've been offered IPOs. We've declined both. Some legacies aren't meant to be traded. They're meant to stand. I keep 2 photos in my safe. The first is the wedding picture, the one with Katie at Torrey Pines, smiling like she meant it. I don't keep it out of sentiment. I keep it as a reminder of how far I fell and how much I refused to stay down. The second is a company photo taken on our first groundbreaking after the boardroom hearing. Me, Amanda, Rebecca, Michael, Sandra, Jessica, all wearing steel-toed boots and high-vis vests. It was pouring rain, and none of us flinched. That's the one I look at when I want to feel something real. That's the one that matters. As for Katie, she disappeared. Rumor has it she moved north, tried changing her name, worked freelance for a while under a friend's license until that got flagged too. Nobody picks up when she calls now. Her name isn't whispered in lobbies or dropped at conferences. She became what she feared most: irrelevant. And Robert? Last I heard, he's managing a discount property lot outside Phoenix, selling prefabs to people who think stucco is luxury. No one takes his meetings. He goes by Bob now. Let them rot. Let the lesson echo. You don't cross David Miller. One afternoon, I walked past a group of interns whispering near the conference center. "That's the guy," one said. "He's the reason they say don't screw over the founder." I didn't stop walking, but I did smile. Legacy isn't just about buildings. It's about warning shots carved into concrete, lessons woven into steel. This empire, it wasn't born out of love. It was born out of betrayal, refined by fire, reinforced by truth. And now, it's untouchable.